Give us a cheat code, bro. You know what? I know what we gotta do. Make sure we bring the food in for him too, players.
Right.
When we bring a dish, have two.
1 2 1 2. Let's go in the place to be.
Yo. This is We Don't Need Permission. Back with another episode. We got Mr. Hollywood back in the studio again.
He finally came off tour. He finally came off tour. You know where he's from.
Right.
The booger.
So, in all actuality, in not needing permission, we can't be stagnant, right? We can't stay in one place. So, we are not at the capabilities of having we don't need permission for me to be filming while I'm traveling throughout the country doing the work that I'm doing. But, again, the show must continue, and I was very excited to see the show last week, to hear the content, to see what my brothers put out there. And then tonight, as we see our brother, he's at work, hosting a whole nother next generation of people, right? Getting them ready through his programming that he does through the campus. So he won't make it tonight. So it'll just be the three of us, which will be great, because then we'll bring in other people. We'll bring special guests. This thing is just going to evolve. So I'm excited. I'm glad to be back. Missed you guys.
We missed you too. So back to your regularly current host. Man.
I didn't miss the little swat that I had to do a couple times. That's why he's on the other side of the table today. See me get excited. He start talking with his hands, get wild as hell.
That's exactly how it goes. Anybody who knows me knows that's how it goes.
Yeah. I wasn't familiar to that capacity, but now I know that's why you're on the side of the table. But to piggyback on what you're saying, continuing the show despite one of us missing or possibly two of us missing is us not needing permission for the show to go on.
Exactly.
And that's what we're trying to continuously put out, that messaging of what permission looks like, and what we are doing to show the opposite of that. The show has to go on without us. So again, we welcome you back. I'm glad you're on the other side of the table. How has, I guess, the weekend review been for you guys?
Okay.
It's been good. No snow.
Right.
Start with that.
It was windy the other day.
It was windy.
That shit was crazy.
But it started melting that snow, man. I felt so good being in the back out of my driveway and don't have to worry about hitting snow. Not the car next to me, the
Right.
snow. But it was a good week. Anybody that's, end of the month is all, deadlines and a lot of other trivial things that we have to do to get things ready. But other than that, I'm blessed. The kids is continue to move forward. Obviously, they got this education talk in regards to having our babies go back to school.
Mm-hmm.
We can touch on that a little later too. But other than that, man, I'm blessed to be here, man.
I actually hope we make that our topic for next week, and I'm not trying to be presumptuous, but I'm gonna throw that out there.
Well, that was me opening the door.
Okay, let's just
because me and you we have inside. Not let me rephrase it. We got inside information. We just a part of the work, and we know that this is coming to a level of it's not just the governor. We respect everything as far as leadership, but that's just one sector of community. That's government. What is the private sector saying? What is the civic sector saying? And we know a lot of times the private and the public gonna rock together. Right. So civic sector, what are we saying about going back to school? So we're gonna talk more about that, man.
But without getting out too much about next week, like we also gonna talk about there's districts that we know that are doing this, right? Let's be clear. There are people with resources and funding that are showing that they have a hybrid model that is working to success. The numbers, they're contact tracing. I just did 6 lectures to different freshman classes at a private school.
Getting it done.
When you walk through the door, there's contact tracing.
And because their parents pay for it.
Oscar, who are you? Alumni, boom, boom, boom. Before it used to be just an open door policy. Now you got to get buzzed in. You get an ID pass. But once I got my first ID, I was already in the system. Come back all throughout the day. Campus is operating, full staff, full community, and the kids aren't missing out because they understand that in-class instruction is just as important. That's why they made sure that I was safely there doing the Black History program at that school. So it's before we get too far ahead, it's being done. And we're going to talk about why our kids and the reasons why it can't be done for our kids.
And
So.
even to talk about the whole thing of we don't need permission, and even understanding, like you said, it's being done. America has never needed permission to keep the 3-car Molly movement going on. Like, they never needed permission to do one thing over here and 2 cars over here moving, and they telling you pick a car. No,
So
all 3 cars is action going on, and I want to see all of them.
Right.
And that's really where I see where we talk about schools is up and running, things is happening. You're right, and the thing is, because we so traditionally siloed out that we really act as if this is something new.
Mhm.
No, like you said, that's like the NBA and certain other elements who put their funding into the security to making sure their operation continues to go.
Right.
So is some schools who are really paying attention that no, we have to protect our interests. Let's be clear.
I'm very clear about it. They keep moving the goal line. All right? So as soon as we get close 5 yards from the end zone, they move the goal line another 50 yards, 100 yards.
Charlie
and tell
Brown,
us.
Lucy.
So it's like, how can I ever score? You keep moving that goal line. But it's okay. Because what we're doing is finding ways to slow that goal line down, right? And navigate through that system where we can slow that goal line down. And,
And we slow that goal line down. I love where you're going because, like you said, we focus because we live in a society.
Right.
So when we talk about that goal line that keeps moving, we live in America, so we have to pay attention, period. Locally, statewide, nationally. So that national, state, and local keeps moving. But to your point, what we also doing is building our own table. So as that thing keep moving, so are we.
So are we.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's
okay,
it.
we all gonna keep moving.
That's it.
And that's why people know I'm TTG, trained to go.
Okay.
Because I'm not sitting here waiting. Like you said, I'm watching it move.
Right.
Watching it
I'm
move.
watching it every time I get here. I'm like, oh.
And part of not needing permission is not sitting there asking nobody to, like, oh, please stop, slow down for us. We're
And
trying to
keep
catch
wondering-
up.
And keep wondering why I keep moving. We
Yeah.
know why I keep
Right.
moving, player.
Uh-huh.
Listen, I'm clear
Clear.
on why I keep moving.
Exactly.
It is what I'm going to do with my brothers, with my community. Are we going to be community builders, or are we going to keep complaining how the community is not there?
Right.
And like you guys spoke on that gentleman last week. The only thing to do is organize. That's why we're here. I have my blog. Then we have this platform. Altorice has all the different levels that he's reaching out, the op-eds that he does, the parents that he empowers, that he puts on the community. You've already had, a podcast that you put out in the community. Terrance has so many modes of communication that he does with the community. And the thing is, not just for us, it's to use these platforms to empower other people to
Right.
put their platforms to the community and what expertise that we have and the things that we can do to help you put that out. We need to do that because, I'm not trying to do this forever. I'm just trying to further the next generation. You 25, I'm 40, right? Oh, I'm 39. I'll be 40. And so in that process is to transfer the power to you, bro. I keep telling you that. Like this whole process, everything that we do is to transfer power to you. It's not for me to stay in power and have to keep doing these shows. No, I want to do these shows for however long as we need to do it. But then you and the next generation should be running with it. Altorice older than both of us, right? He the old head.
I don't look it, baby. You already said, you know what they say about that building, it preserve you. So I definitely don't look it, but no, to your very point, and me and the brother, we talk about that all day, no pun intended, that it is about cultivating leaders, and that at the end of the day, it's no fun if your homie can't have none. So to continue to have information and really not sharing it and helping them understand how to use it. Don't give me the football. Show me really how I run through the hole.
Right.
Show me how I throw the 30-yard dig. Show me some stuff.
A statement that changed my life when I was like 18, 19. Real talk. A statement that changed my life. Therefore, by the grace of God, go out. And when I realized that, right, I realized that the same thing I want for myself, I want for my brothers. And I never left that. And for good or for bad, people tried to take me along the way and tell me I was wrong for that, right? I'm promising you, I sat at a meeting early this morning that was just the personification of like 20 years of work, of transformation, of brothers,
Yeah.
and we really got the checks. We done did some moves. We done did some business. And, we really started out the mud. And, I'm looking around the table, and realizing like, yo, this is just at the beginning of where we're going for the next level, and this thing is so amazing, and it's only by the grace of God. Therefore, by the grace of God, and me wanting the same thing I wanted for my brother. Like, yo, I used to push these cats to come to meetings, right? And because we was out there, right? And so when you out there, you know, nothing can really get a brother to show up to a meeting on time. You couldn't even really get to me to show up on time, right?
Right.
So I used to charge them $1 a minute for every minute they was late for the meetings. And then I used to read books, and I used to come up with agendas, right? And I would break out the whole agenda and read the book and then do like a cliff note. And that would be part of the agenda. We would discuss what we needed to in the meeting. And to see 20, maybe 15, I can't even do all the math, years later, right? These brothers really invested in stock, having diversified stock portfolios, having all because we was reading books called The Automatic Millionaire back then, telling us what we need to do, having financial advisors, having, like, these cats are straight out the mud, credit unions, right, with credit cards and up with the tens of thousands of credit limits and things like that, all legal, all done the right way, all because we just kept flipping small businesses that people never believe. We started with icy carts, we've owned barbershops, we've owned everything, car lots, we've rented cars, we've U-Haul, man, we shovel snow, clean, cut lawns, like anything.
As
And
we're supposed to.
as
Our ancestry always has.
Right.
You know,
Anything.
people was amazed on how, wow, the black community really came out of slavery in a situation, and they was already be able to sit on, you know, state legislation, government, national legislation. They was able to start their own businesses, their own insurance companies, their own barbershops, all this stuff and things. A lot of that stuff is because it was just transferable skills. Like we had,
They
like
already
they
had the
wasn't
skills.
running government and energy amongst their community for real.
Exactly.
The only
So-
thing different, one thing to me, my difference is they had the opportunity to now legally do it. They were still doing it. That pastor was he was the pastor and he was the deacon, but they also was the mayor. They also was the council people amongst themselves. So when it was time to really do it, they knew who they were sending. They already like we act like all this is new under the sun versus no, it's information. We just really wasn't in
But that
tune.
kind of leads us to our topic today,
Talk to me.
where we are with Women's History Month, right? And that transformation, like what happened, right? What happened, right? And a lot of people want to blame it on, the women of our community, they just babied the men too much, or they pacified the boys too much when the men was just trying to make us men and things like that. And I went through it in my own household, you know, with my stepson. You know, I came into my stepson's life when he was 2.5. He has his own father, but I'm actually living in the house and I'm setting the rules and the mandates of the house. And, you know, when I came up, we just, you know, you get out of line, you get a beating, right? And that's the practice. And along the way, really, you know, getting into Christ and understanding, like, I just don't want to beat my children. Like, I have a daughter now. I don't want to beat her. You know, it was one night that we had just a bad night. And it was just crazy for me. And I was just like, yo, you know, and the mother of my children looked at me and we had the discussion. I'm like, I'm never doing that again. You're never calling me, you know, because of everything that's going on and me not being there and you just want me to beat them or, you know, be the enforcer because you've coddled them and now you need the enforcer because I'm not here, right? Let's just deal with the fact that I'm not here and that you're dealing with it. And so now you want me to just come and be the enforcer, right? And that's not really helping them, right? That's not helping my children. That's not helping who I want to be. That's not helping my relationship with my children. Because now they see, when daddy called, or then now she's hiding things from me, right? Because she doesn't want to talk about everything that she's doing because it's this game, right? Like, don't tell daddy, right? Because daddy going to be, and I can't be that guy, right? So it was just a lot, like me not wanting to yell, me not wanting to beat my kids brought me to this point, right? And it really made me start to look at it from her perspective. And the perspective that I saw, you know, I really started to weep and I really started to understand that, like, you know, black women birth black men knowing that we could possibly be killed every single day going out in this world. And what kind of torture and torment is that to a mother?
Right.
To know that just me birthing this boy in this world I'm putting them up with so many odds and against. And so then when they wonder why they smother us or treat us, but they watch their grandfather, they father be emasculated in society in one way or another and can't do nothing to protect them. Going back to as far as slavery, when they watch their wives be raped and couldn't do nothing about it because if you do something about it, you'll get killed.
And they watch themselves get raped too.
All the way.
Like that's how really
all the way.
Stuff was.
All the way up to the point where y'all had last week.
Like that's real.
Where you watched them go in there in front of his pregnant wife and assassinate a man. 21-year-old black man, just for the simple fact that he was going to be able to unite too many different forces that they couldn't control, and they made him a bigger threat than two different nations. You made a black man from Chicago, the CIA director going to tell me, or FBI director going to say that a 21-year-old black man from Chicago is more of a threat than two nations with power to do with armies and powers, and we was just a.
But wasn't he correct though?
This is crazy.
He was correct.
No, he wasn't correct.
Correct.
I don't think that was correct.
He was correct that 21-year-old man was definitely going to be able to brew that type of power. And if at 21 years old he's able to brew that type of power, what's going to happen when he's 39 years old? And what's going to happen? It's going to be even worse than what happened with Martin Luther King.
And so that's why it's been
real quick. But they gave Martin Luther King the opportunity. When I say gave, they didn't shoot him. They didn't kill him in 1955 when he was doing the boycott.
Right.
So they let that go. And then they let him come to March to Washington. Then they let him keep talking. And then they got to the last point in 1968 when he said, wait a minute, I think I ran my people to a burning building.
Right.
I think that at the end of the day, I know it's two Americas at the end of the day. So when you fast forward 4 years later, and you got a 21-year-old in Chicago doing the same thing as far as bringing people together. Now he's much more to the other point where I want to bring. He's not on that love, peace, and hair grease. He on that by any means necessary. We're gonna do it the gun way or the policy way, but we're gonna get this done. And to let that marinate for another 20 years, like they let Martin Luther King marinate. Nah, they knew, Hoover knew exactly that brother had the potential to be not just a national leader, an international leader. And for America to let that happen a second time, when they was already killing all those type of leaders already.
So that as we go into Women's History Month, as we go into publicly, I want to apologize to my mother, because as a young black man who has literally been out here in these streets, young black man that then went on to different private schools and different educations and been in those areas. Young black man that has went on to colleges that don't resemble me but gave me the best opportunity to be me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then came back and link up with real brothers from these streets, right? I don't even know how my mother ever slept at night except for the Bible. Except for the Bible. And all those times that she heard of me in the back of a cop car or in some incident with the police, I can't even imagine what that has done for her. Understand that my mother grew up in these times watching this stuff.
Shout out to all the mothers who lost their children to the foster care system, where at the end of the day, to that very trauma that you speak of, a mother can have, to lose their child to a system that they, to your point, don't never know what might happen to that child.
But let's go back to the point. Let's go back to that point, right? That you could be so messed up in this society that you think the best thing to do is to let him go in that system than rather even try to do. And I'm not even trying to put myself in the realm of a woman or a mother at that point. I'm just telling you that my shout out is that I know that where my gut comes from, my heart, you was just trying to do the best that you could for that child no matter what.
Well, how about you wasn't trying? You were doing it.
You were doing it.
And at the end of the day, you can't come into my home and say, well, this is not adequate because of these things, when you know at the end of the day the inadequacies of this whole construct.
Uh-huh.
And then hold me hostage to I'm not meeting certain elements, so yes, I'm going to take your child. When at the end of the day, you know for a fact, not just me, but almost this whole building is going through that.
Uh-huh.
So that's why I say shout out to those women too,
Amen.
because a lot of people lost children not because they was on anything crazy other than this. Come on, man, bump that. It's money on black kids too. It was
It is.
because, and we talk about going back to those days. What was the foster care system then? It was the intern system. It was the, hey, I'll take your children and we're gonna intern them. We're gonna teach them. We're gonna trade.
But let's talk about the
Like,
trauma that was
trade.
passed down from slavery, right? This trauma that was done to black women, where they were raped in front of their husbands, they were raped, so vulnerable, and still had to show love to the
Sure.
family growers, right? And then pass that down. And what must they have taught their daughters that they must endure from a man
to survive.
Just
to survive?
To
Come on,
survive.
bro, this is crazy.
Not to come up. Not
This
to
is
elevate,
crazy.
Just to be able to live for tomorrow.
This is crazy.
And to your point about the black brothers and men who, to your very point, as soon as you come out the womb, I remember my mother told me, like, at the end of the day, you got one strike against you from go. You black. Like, this is 70s, 80s, straight up was understood that. You come out with one strike against you. So this is what we were being taught, like, from our own energy, that you're already from the door.
What about the
got one thing
disconnect?
against you.
What about the disconnect that you so disconnected from your child, you look your child in the face and tell her, I should have flushed you down the toilet like I thought about it?
That's just a deep.
Because I know somebody who
That's
heard
trauma.
that.
That's
I
deep.
know somebody
Trauma.
heard that from their mother.
Well, how about that same person that may have said that to their child will say that to them?
And then to them.
So because it goes back to the whole beating of children. I'm with you with that element. I grew up on that too. Spare the rod. Don't spare that rod. Like, get at, and it's like, whoa, what about how about at the end of the day, we all humans, right?
Right.
Is it an age limit to humanity? Like, once you born,
There you
you're
go.
human. So if you're a human, once you born,
You
you're
deserve
supposed
that
to-
same
you-
humanity.
You deserve the same dignity.
Word.
Like, how are we taking these
Word.
kids' dignity from them
Word.
by making them to come to our disciplined acts?
And me and my
versus
son,
engage them and versus talk. Like,
as
I'm
my
like,
son
dude,
turns 12
I'm-
today, I think this last year I've been better with discipline than I have not beating him than I have beating him. Promise
you.
you.
Gotta think where it comes
Promise
from,
you.
comes straight from slavery.
Straight from slavery.
It comes,
Just watch
See, my
it
family from the
getting
South.
Whipped and whipped and whipped and whipped.
My family from the South. My grandmother
But
beat him,
I-
right? Beat him, he don't listen, then put him in the bath with some Epsom salt. That's some crazy shit.
So, and even like we said with the beatings from slavery, how about our society too, though? Because
Uh-huh.
the white people was beating their kids too. So,
And
like,
beating the
I'm
hell out
not
of
saying
their
how in depth
families.
it was. I'm just saying how America sees. Like, we fear violence and all types of, catastrophe that can happen to us. We defend ourselves. We get ready. We got the biggest army.
This-
But on the
this
flip
country
side,
embraces it
we
so
be the
much.
ones whipping ass.
Right.
But to keep us on topic, right?
Yes, sir.
Our mothers are only beating us to keep us in line because they know the moment that we step out of
We
line,
dead.
We
Right.
dead.
Can you imagine that though?
we dead.
No, that's
If
the,
I
but that's
don't
the
beat him, he's
trauma.
gonna die.
That's the trauma.
So now you put a ceiling on my life.
If I don't rear him to understand, don't you walk past that gun line.
Right.
Because you walk past that gun line,
They gonna
it's
kill you.
going down.
Mhm.
I ain't even gonna be able to whoop your ass enough. It's gonna be over.
So
I
I
have to
bring
whip
it.
your ass
So
all I
I,
can
beat you
right
down.
now.
So you just be scared of me whooping your butt versus that white man and that gun line.
Right.
so for
Trauma.
9 months,
Trauma.
I carry a child, right? Carry a child for 9 months.
Mhm.
Not understanding the traumas that going through because of the fathers and the black man and the
Trauma
and
I'm going through with carrying that baby, whatever I'm going
the fact
through
that you
in life.
called me and told me you pregnant and everything that I'm going through in life, that what that put me through, and then now passing that on to you, right?
Yes, sir.
Then the trauma that she lives with every day once she releases that child out of her womb, right, into this world.
Because for her, that's the safest
Can we talk
place
about the
they could
trauma
be.
of the woman who even in that hospital having that baby
There we
and
go.
they might not live?
Mhm.
Because I want to talk about the death rate and that.
Yes.
Like, that's another element for our poor sisters that have to either go with. So one of the biggest, not one of the biggest
And so many of our
miracles in the
sisters in
world,
there by themselves.
childbirth,
In themselves, by themselves.
sitting there by themselves, and if you don't have that medical lens of a support representative with you, oh, who knows what you going through?
Right.
How many people came in to give birth and died? How many people came in for the flu and died?
Perfectly
a
healthy.
sore throat.
This shit crazy.
Mhm.
For real.
And then we expect women just to be like, okay, now get home, make me dinner, make me happy, be the support of my life.
I'm scared that my child might then make it to adulthood. Then when he make it to adulthood, I gotta be afraid that my child turns into a monster and beat up on women and take that trauma into his like that's why I'm not afraid to talk about trauma.
Right.
That's why I'm not afraid to talk about mental health either. Because at the end of the day, I done sat alone by myself for 5 years, 6 months, and got to think every night about my life. From the day I was born that I can remember to me sitting in there, and I know at the end of the day, I was able to reflect on a lot of trauma.
Going back to what I said before, there go for by the grace of God go out, right? Like all throughout my life, like I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I was the best man to women and things like that. Like I was really messed up, right? I was definitely messed up.
That's where we grow now.
A lot of
Pay attention, young boy.
a lot of what I went through
Don't follow us.
was me trying
That's the
to
gap.
live this persona and live this life of like what I thought it was to be a man and what it is the actuality to be a man, right? And then like me trying to figure out what that guide is, right? And then going to different men that's not steering me to ultimately the only way that I've learned to be a man is through the Bible and through God, right? And just living like God. And it's an everyday struggle. Like I don't sit here and pretend that, you know, I'm some angel. But what I can say is the last 3 years of my life, I've been living more accordingly to God, and I've been moving in a path that I believe that God wants me to move in, right? And it starts because every morning I start with him and asking him, please shape my steps, right? Like, this is what you want. And I would say that, you know, I apologize to all the women that I've dated in the past or things that I didn't, because I was just a little boy, right? Like, I was a little boy, like, and until I became to want to be the child of God that I want to be, like, I was never prepared for any of those relationships. I wasn't. And I would say that as women, when you see those signs, I want you to really look at those signs and take that serious now, because it's not that we don't want to step up, right? Like, you could want to step up all you want. Like, there was no roadmap in my first marriage on how to step up. There was no, I went to my father, right? And I ain't blaming him. I love my father. But, like, he didn't tell me, son, do this, think about this, like this, do this. You know what I mean? And now on my counterparts, I can and will say this. One of the things that I will say that I love and respect about my counterparts that are Caucasian and things like that and others, they've shown me a family structure, right? Like I got a real older white guy that showed me a family structure, showed me what it is to, no matter where you at, traveling around the country, how you make it home for your kids, right? Like, he showed me this. Like, he was literally like, this dude would be traveling around the country, like Fortune 500, you know, maybe not Fortune 500 companies, but really, really serious companies, right? That him and his private equity firm, they buy, they take the company to some type of destination. Maybe they make it public or whatever. And he's done this over multiple times within my lifespan, right? Like, so for me, my best friend, for that to be his father and for me to have access to this man, and then for me to be in Villanova freshman year on his way from D.C. or somewhere, he stops in Villanova, takes us out to dinner, big steak dinner on him, letting us know everything going to be all right, everything going good. Catches 3 hours on our little tight couch with his feet up in the air, just to drive home to the office because he got an extra pair of clothes, shower in his office, go to work, then go home in Randolph, New Jersey, just to be able to say he stopped with his son on college, went to work, and make sure he made it home within the span of a week, like of probably being all over the country. And so this is what, you know, those examples, right, and really showing me, like, and he didn't do it like juxtaposed to my father. He never knocked my father. He always asked me about my father. Like, how's my father doing? How's Big O doing? Tell Big O I love him. That's my man, right? He might not say love him, but tell Big O I'm looking for him. That's my man, right? And it was that example, right, that really pushed me, like, and then pushed me and made me the father that I am today. That's why, you know, Mr. Internet, whatever. Yeah, you're right. Like, I might be somewhere in 3 days, but I'm going to be home, right? Mm-hmm. Why? Because what was today? My son's birthday. What was yesterday? My daughter's birthday. So it was no way that, while you didn't know that, it was no way I was not going to be home, because there was no way that mother was going to have to shoulder that on herself, right? And she trusts me so much now, she don't even know my traveling schedule. She just know this boy going to be gone, whatever. But she know when he home, he with his kids. Right. She know when he home, he make sure his son is all right. I check in with my son. I make sure my son understands that he has a responsibility now. He is no longer, when it snow, all it snow. I came over to help his mother to shovel. I'm like, listen, son, I'm not even doing you right if I don't allow you to come downstairs and help me with this, right? Because your mother go to work every day to make sure that you have food on the table and that you got, no matter what I do, your mother gonna always make sure. You never have not the right to make sure that your mother and your sisters are okay. And it might feel like an awesome responsibility, but that's the responsibility of us as men, and that's what wasn't told to us.
I feel you 100%, definitely from your perspective and that narrative. And that's why I love this show too, because it gives us the opportunity to really, not just with this gap of age, but also with this, letting it be understood, just because we all black, we all don't speak from the same exact experience and angles, yet we all coming to the same goal. And that's we need no permission to change our community. Yet, I'm always going to come from that angle where it was the very opposite. But we still sitting together at this table, so that means you can get to the goal, even though the process is different. And the process that I have is, like you said, I was not the best example for a woman's, love. And I was in that same element of not knowing, not having an example. It's just the difference was I truly didn't have the example. Like, it was no father at all, like, whatsoever. So when we talk about, to respect these women and being honest, like you said, this month, respecting our sisters, I myself, two marriages. I myself, 4 women that gave me the opportunity to have children by me. So yes, I have 5 children by 4 different individuals. Yet it goes back to what Sydney was saying. My level of understanding, my level of development, training, no, totally damaged, totally, you should have never, I talked that talk, but I wasn't there. I had a lot of things going on. So I totally understand how it's to apologize to these women and how we in our earlier days was moving. And not to make any excuses, yet to truly understand what we come from. You know what you know. So when you don't know a father, when you don't know the principles that we're able to really move in to be productive, what do? What I did real quickly, guys, ladies, I just started really taking examples. Like he said, he was able to get this gentleman that was able to do that. Well, some people don't have that gentleman. So what you do, you find a multiple gentlemen. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I got my experience. I started engaging men who were engaging their children. Yeah. So I can get an example. Then I found out how to be the man. In my perspective, is just to be a true provider for your children. You will, while you organize that effort, you will see all the resources you need to be a great man and a great father. Now the hit is what you're going to do to accomplish it. Like, that's the other part.
So they spoke of somebody last week, right? Like, is literally the absolute hero of my life. Reason why I changed my life, just everything. El Hajj, Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X. I just think the man is on a whole nother level, right? Whole nother level. One of the biggest things that I feel about him, they let his family down when he died. And so for me, the struggle can't be 100% about the people, and I leave my ex-wife, my next wife, because I know I'm going to get married again. I believe that's what God has in store for me, to be a husband, to live my life right, and to be an example for other young black men that you can just be happy with one woman in a household, growing children, however that looks, family, whatever, and growing that in just one.
I'm sure that you say a part of that you could be happy with one woman, or one companion.
One companion. Exactly.
Is being happy with yourself.
It's being that starts. It start there.
Because we keep asking that's another thing I learned too. Trying to feed that element of the woman wanting to be happy, and me thinking I'm really supposed to do that. I'm really supposed to make you happy, not knowing there's no way in the world I can do that because I can't control you. I can't control your happiness.
But so that's where the disappointment came in. But that's where the disappointment came in, right? The disappointment came in because, right, I watched my mother, like, I used to wake up in the middle of the night, my mother crying herself to sleep, right? Trying to cry herself to sleep, thinking we sleep, right? come in and she tighten up, like, you know, I'm all right? And I'm like, all right, I never want to do that to black women. Not understanding the black women that I did do that to because they were so tough with their exterior, right? They pop off, I pop off, we like, all right, cool, you get that, right? The ones that ever did cry break me down because I can't do that. Can't see a woman cry and just be so cold and so tough. That's why, you know.
I got daughters now, buddy.
Right.
Like, let's be all the way honest. I got 3 daughters. So I definitely snapped out of it because it gets to the point like we were saying earlier. Wait a minute. I ain't trying to, like, I'll tell you honest. When I had my first daughter, I was like, whoa. Because I know how I was moving. I'm like, whoa. I'm going to have to defend the energy that I know that's going to come when she get to that. Because listen, man, that's why I was so serious about wanting to change my life, because I really know, like, oh my goodness, that was somebody's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
That I just, hey man, like, you know, like, keep it moving. They really care about the feelings and emotions. They really really engage that human being, and then realize that, wait a minute, you got a daughter. Somebody's gonna do that to your daughter.
Exactly.
Now you got 3 daughters. Like, well, so like you said, like, nah, I started really paying attention. That's why, you know, our youngest, London, shout out to London, my baby girl, and Alana, like, these little girls, like, I feel bad for whoever come in the world, man. Like, because the expectations that they're going to have for a male, because that's another thing when we talking about man and being a man and being, like, I was going into the thinking of, I really aim to learn how to be a human. Just be a human, straight up, knowing how to deal with humanity.
You know, one of the biggest things that I thought was important for me to teach London, that even though we divorced, that I love your mother, no matter what it looks like, because she still see me and your mother, like, it don't know on that phone and text messages and stuff.
Answer it quickly.
Everything ain't the best. She know, like,
I
you know.
I love my daughter got a cell phone. Like, yeah,
yes.
Your mother called me. What's up? Did she talk to you first?
Yeah. Right.
Like, even, but it goes back to, like you said, like, my daughter came into me yesterday, was like, Mommy want to know because she have a plea. Like, Mommy ain't pay no child support. Like, I just wanted to say it because it's on our side now. It's on my side.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
But to the point of, no, exactly, she had a plea. Because she don't have to pay child support because we take care of our baby. So it ain't about no child support. But it's definitely making sure that the baby, my daughter, didn't see any energy that wasn't real with me and her mom, no matter what our real energy is. That ain't, like, she wanted to see it as a partnership between 2 people who probably didn't get along.
No, speaking about that, right? Like, one time I was trying to be funny, right? I was definitely trying, because, you know, we got our own little fake power, right? And we be in our feelings, and, you know, one of the times I had some fake power over my ex-wife when I didn't, like, I'm so consistent, right? I'm that dude that I'm so consistent. When I'm not consistent, you already know it's a problem, right? And I'm a Cancer, July baby.
Oh, so
so I'm emotional.
You telling on yourself.
I'm telling on myself all the time.
Yeah, I'm all over the place. So you just like, you all over the place.
Yeah, I'm telling myself all the time, right? So, you know,
yeah, it's hard for you to creep.
it was something I was doing, and me and my baby, I was out of town. I was working out of town. Right, I'm going for like months. So if I'm out of town, I make sure that money there early, on time, everything, right? And so something, like, she probably just getting fed up, like 3-4 months. This fool gone. I got these kids. Now I always make sure there's help. I always make sure there is somebody else moving the kids around, shuttling, nanny, something in place. Like at the time, so we definitely had. Somebody in place helping the kids back and forth to school. It wasn't shouldered all on her. I told her I was going to give her like $1,000, right? Say it was $1,000. I swear out of spite, I was going to send $700, and then send the other $300 because I knew she didn't need it. Because I knew because I left, but she had just took shots at me on the phone, right? And so I'm like in my feelings, the Cancer that I am. Right, and I'm like, I'm about to just send her $700. Like, she don't even need the $1,000. Like, I just made sure before I left, she up. So if she just spent it, she balling. I don't even care. Like, she good, right? So the young lady I was dating at the time was like, yo, she was like, don't do that. Don't be petty. Send her $1,000. She said, because you don't know what plan she made with that $1,000. That's going to throw everything off with that $1,000. That point right there. I've never played with, even when I'm upset. If I'm upset now, I send it early. I'll probably send it on the 29th now, like, because I'm upset, to make sure that I don't get in my feelings and make sure that much. And I just say all I'd say. That's, again, another lesson, things that I've learned along the way, right? But that was another woman that taught me that. Like, and then what she was able to do was use her experience with her baby father and how I didn't like how he played with her on me. And that's a real woman. So I shout out to her, because shout out to all those real women too, right? That make us really
We call them the real ones.
step up,
You're
right?
a real one.
Right.
Shout out to Cali.
You know? And even to my ex-wife, I give her credit, right? My ex-wife was only screaming for me to be the man that I am today. She just didn't know how to scream it at me, right? Like, I'm not going to say she wasn't trying, she didn't want me to be there. Just screaming at me wasn't the way it's going to get me there.
Because it's at the end of the day, we go back to we still humans, and our development is not dictated by anybody but our development.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you can't make me, like, think about education. We talk about from kindergarten to 12 years old to 12th grade. That barometer is is basing a person's level of, you know, brilliance, their level of potential, all that between kindergarten and 12th grade. So you telling me between 5 and 18, that's when I should know that human being development. Like, how we know that's the peak of his development?
Right.
Why his development peak can't be at 30, at 20? So when he get education, then, oh my God, now he's a straight A student. No, he have to be there between kindergarten and 12th grade. Says who? Says, once again, what we talk about, we need permission. We don't need permission to keep getting educated. That's why I went back to college for a quick second till I went to the judge, and it was similar to what we talking about with women and child. My daughter mother take me for child support. I just came from prison. So, you know, like, hold up, let's make sure we get you in line with what you need to get in line with, Mr. Frazier. And this is my daughter's mother. So we go to court. I'm here, I'm ready. Let's go pay this child support. That woman said, listen, you work at H&O Block, and because you work at H&O Block, this is how much you could get paid as a tax professional. I said, I just started H&O Block. I don't make that much money because it's commission-based. She said, so what? You got the petition. Find somewhere else where you could use that skill at this time, at this amount of hours. At this rate. So I'm like, oh, sweat. So now I just came from jail. I got to pay $25 an hour worth of child support. Dude, they ain't paying me $25 an hour.
Right.
But once again, because I came with that skill set and I was honest and said it, like, straight up. And she was like, well, this is what it is. From that point on, 2005 till when my daughter's now 23, I was stuck at a rate that I know I couldn't pay. And I was going to school full time. I had a voucher from DVR, I'm in school. She said, you go to school full time? I said, yeah. She said, well, you need to change your schedule because you need to work full time to get that $25 an hour. I'm like, but that's what I'm going to school for. She said, that ain't got nothing to do with the child. Make a decision. Like, what the heck? I just came home from prison. I'm in school full time, and I got the little H&R Block thing about to turn into something. I'm about to do it. She said, make a decision. I went and worked for H&R Block, and turned that into a full-time situation, turned that into a whole career, became a tax professional, manager, boom, 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 went on to my career, but I left school behind. But this the other flip side of the whole silver lining of it. I still got to the goal without going back to school. And yes, it was hard, yes, it was difficult, but on the same token, it was hard and difficult because of the systemic things that keep the system in place, that if you don't have all these academic elements, there's a harder chance to get through some of these doors, when at the end of the day, you just really need the skills. Right. You just need the experiences. You truly don't need that 5 or 6 years you sat in that liberal arts class and got your degree, and now you're able to get some of the best jobs because you got a degree versus I don't. So at the end of the day, I love how in this decade, your ability to get things done is really going to be stronger of a testament of what you're able to do versus the systemic system that America puts you through. Because if education got to get paid for on the college level and you in debt for paying it, then you come home and you got to get a job because y'all whole community is in debt. So the job world got to feed y'all. But what about us? Who ever went to that decision? Well, that's y'all fault. That can't be the way America keeps going because college should be a choice. It shouldn't be you have to go to college to have a beautiful life That's not. First of all, it's not even America, because they wasn't going to college like that back in the day when they first started this country.
They was working in the factory.
So everything
Thomas
I just
Edison
heard,
made that go up.
everything I just
Thomas
heard,
Jefferson, excuse me.
everything I just heard, right? Everything I just heard, right? Is a black man that literally just described us his timeline and his transformation, right? Right? But are you realistically able to go home and tell your girl that, tell your wife that? All these stresses that you're going through day by day, would it take to go through that, right? And so I got to throw out another apology to my mother, right?
We don't apologize to women and mom.
I apologize to women and moms all night.
Look, everything we saying is apology, guys.
The only reason I apologize, right? Again,
We know now.
Right.
for this, we know now, and a simple fact, like I used to say to my mother, man, you married him, you had a baby by that nigga, right?
My grandma used to say, "That's your baby, child."
That's your.
That's your baby.
And what cracks me up about that is that the same representative that we put on at certain times for women
Yes, sir.
was the same representative that he showed up with, right? And we can't be mad at her for believing that representative, right? Because we believed it. And what happened was, through life, a lot of trials and tribulations start hitting us, and what we were just doing is updating them in real time, everything that we going through, right? And we let everything mount up and build up and become something that it really wasn't. And it was really these trials and tribulations that we're dealing with that's just mounting up, because we don't know how to communicate that properly to you, because, again, nobody told us what it was to be a man, so we thinking as a man, I don't tell you and I don't talk to you. When, in all actuality, one of the best things that I'm learning from partnerships right now is to just be an honest and open book, right? And to discuss everything that you're going through, even your frustrations with your partner. Because one way, she going to feel it, right? She going to feel it from the wrath that come from you, or she going to feel it from you just being able to discuss that conversation. And being able to have that conversation, the one thing I hate to admit, they have good advice. And it doesn't hurt to have a woman's advice. And I'm learning to trust a woman's advice, where I thought it was just me, alpha male, because I come from a strong Guyanese family, so it was do as I say. And I'm learning that it was really my Guyanese grandmother, my mother, and those women that were really the strength and the backbone, and listening to them and understanding how to listen to them. But also the strength I know about those women is they also know how to let a man be a man within his faults.
Well, I'm so blessed that that's my friend, because by him saying that, I'm blessed because, shout out to, the young lady that allows me to be in her life and a friend. She's Guyanese. So I got a lot to look forward to if that's the center of what I'm going through. But to your point, no, I'm laughing because, no, she is very, definitely that energy, and I'm loving to hear that's actually, cultural.
It definitely is.
And that's important. So I want to leave with one thing to bring home, like shout outs to apologies to the women that we've engaged, and whichever way that ball bounced. One thing I know myself, and I'm sure you too, Cindy, to this larger point, we didn't burn these bridges either. Though.
No.
Like that's the other part. Like I might have said
great dope friendships.
Still got, like, I was on the phone today talking to my ex-wife, my last ex-wife, been married twice. We were talking, and we actually in a position to push her in position going forward on some business stuff that we laughing like, hey, we got together thinking we was going to take this ride together and we're going to do all this great stuff together, and we got together and married each other, when now that really probably was never the plan. The plan was for us good people to come together and do some business stuff together
and get this
forward.
money together.
We went and got into the feeling emotion and messed up, and then we pretty much away from each other for a good 3 years, off and on, hey, how you doing, birthday shout out me. But this was the first time we actually sat and talked about it, because you know me, I'm the collaborating partner champ, baby.
Let's get this money.
I'll get over that.
Let's get this money.
Like, no, here's something that popped up with you. I know that's your skills.
Listen, I'm a Cancer and I'm emotional, but when it comes down to my money, and I can see you thriving with money and business, I can put my emotions to the side because I see the bigger picture, right? And it's not about the money. We understanding that the advancement of whatever we doing is gonna move a whole, your family, your kids, my family, like that's gonna move further than the romance. So maybe the romance ain't there, but if we can move our families together, then we really doing something.
That's right. Because that's
Okay.
really the goal, is at the end of the day, our legacy won't be this was some Hollywood marriage and our kids look like, yo, y'all was together for 1 year. Like, word is bond.
Shaka.
No, how about you? We was married together for a year, but we got 5, 6, 10 years of this other marriage to what you said earlier, partnership. Because that's the other part. When we talk about partnership, we don't marry if you physically engaging with that partner. The word partnership brings a level of fairness in our engagement, and when we play on that, that's when are we really being a partner. So I really respect the word partner is really in a situation like you said, you gotta, if you my partner, I give you that title, it is a level of dumping I should give you and vice versa. So our partnership has a foundation to
And
stand
just in
on.
admitting your shit, like, bro, I'm a Cancer, I'm emotional. Some of the moves I make, I don't even know I'm making, right? Like, that shit just natural instinct, right? But what I've truly have learned, is that go back, address it, apologize, and move forward, and don't make that mistake again. And me being able to do that, my ex-wife and I can honestly say we have a dope relationship. Like, we have a dope relationship. We took my kids, their birthday, we got the kids their gifts together. We did all that together. Did the cake last night. We took them to at the Nickelodeon park today. Once she got that price on that Nickelodeon, she was like, oh, y'all done for the weekend. Nope. Because my kids done sauced me up. We doing Nickelodeon. Then we going to some trampoline park in South Jersey this weekend. You know, London got it sauced up ready. Her mother, as soon as she heard that price, she said, shut it down. Nope. 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 Y'all ain't taking advantage of your father. Y'all done got, she said it's a pandemic and y'all had a decent birthday. Y'all got gifts. Shut it down. And that's what I honored about that relationship, right? And I try to tell other men, like, yo, if you step up and do what you're supposed to do and you honor the relationship the right way,
partnership.
shit, that's what I was feeding off what you started with.
How many
the
people
partnership.
play spades? Because if you play spades,
How many books we got? Okay.
and that's the hit. Like you said, we.
We.
The person, if Oscar, how many books you got? How many you got?
5 and
Okay,
possible.
You got 5 and a possible. I got 2. He got 5 and a possible. He got 6 in my head.
Right.
In his head, I better have my 2. But guess what? No, you better help me get my 2, and I'm gonna help you get your 6.
Right.
Exactly.
Don't you get your 6 and me get my 2, because then you trying to get yours, me trying to get mine, we both get shot.
Right.
No, we gonna work together. I'm gonna get you your 7. You gonna get me my 2. We gonna get 9, and we shooting these cowards.
And that's what my brothers, we gotta understand, man. It's a real partnership, like, you know what I mean. And it started from that womb with our mothers, cause see, our mothers had that partnership and that unsigned contract where they prayed for us, they worried about us. You want to know about that drug addiction. You want to know maybe they didn't know the power of prayer, right? So maybe they turned to the substance, maybe they turned to that abuse. But that was all that worrying, that was all that pain, that was understanding that world that we was out there, and there was nothing she could do to truly protect us, right? That we were out here in this world, and at any moment we could die. We can not be hurt, physically bad, be roughed up, be missed. No, you can die.
I was telling my mother today, she put me in Catholic school early in them 80s, like I was saying. Now, I ain't tell y'all the mischief I was doing in that school. Now, let's be clear, though. This is the 80s. This is the 80s. There's certain things I was doing to some of those white boys that, for real, I could have been in the back of somebody's alleyway, dogged out, and left there. Like, I didn't know about Il Matil. I really didn't. So being up on white boys in Catholic school in the 80s, I could have been really, and my mother would have got the news on the 12 o'clock.
And it wasn't just Emmett Till. It was other freedom writers, right? So it wasn't just Emmett Till. It was the other freedom writers as well.
Emmett Till wasn't a freedom writer.
That's right.
Now, he was just a little kid that went down south
That was,
for the summer.
but then what about the freedom writers
Yeah, no,
that were
but no, I'm not. That's
separate
thing. But to your point, young people, because they was all teenagers.
Period.
And stuff. So to your point, yes.
Young black men, 13 years. Trayvon Martin, bro, he was 17 years old.
And the names go on and on.
Their names go on and on.
Here's the best part.
It's crazy.
In closing,
No doubt.
Is this generational gap between y'all and me, where I'm going through the growing pains of trying to figure out life, and y'all have in y'all own way arrived, and now we're together, bridging that gap. Y'all letting me know, like, damn, I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there because what it took y'all getting to 40, 44,
Jehovah
45.
said I was locked up. You don't got to do it.
Right.
I already did it.
So that's what makes this so organic. That's what makes this flow so much. I can just listen and just like it don't matter. Like the shit is just we gonna figure the shit out together.
It don't
And
matter.
the fact that we're bridging the gap together.
We're willing to put it out there. If you
Right.
don't put it out there, how can you fix it?
Uh-huh.
That's the difference, and that's why this capitalist society is real. Because at the end of the day, they look for problems, help create problems, so they can fix it and then charge us for it.
Right.
Like he said, like the brother said, we're gonna fight capitalism with socialism.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna fight capitalism with socialism. They're gonna kill us for it.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
They don't, man. This right here.
But it ain't something worth ain't something worth for your life to die for. And the only thing I'm gonna preface it with is right. Told you I don't want to leave London because I don't expect y'all to take care of London. But what I have done is make sure that my affairs are in order already. That 39, if they do try to kill me for fighting capitalism with socialism, then guess what? I've already done some capitalistic moves to make sure that London is in proper place. And then we need, without permission, we need to teach others to make those same moves so that we
See how that
can.
brother talking about liberation?
Right.
'Cause that's what I'm in my word off today. Liberation. What my man say? Liberation.
Yeah, you already know how we get down. It's been another episode. Salute to all the sisters out there, all the mothers, all the daughters. Salute to my grandmother. We don't need permission.
That's right. Next week, let's talk about education.
Education.